All right, Senator Adley, did you have a question?
I do. Reverend, I respect very much your passion. Sheriff Norman, your passion. I do have to ask you a question. I looked very carefully at your chart as you asked me to look at it. And if I heard you correctly, you were talking about medical marijuana, and you indicated all these horrible things were going to happen to us if we legalized medical marijuana. I heard the Reverend say that. That's the impression I clearly got, and you said it. Is that your position, that should we take that step?
I'm opposed to the legalization of medical marijuana in the state of Louisiana.
As the sheriff, your job is to enforce the law, is it not?
Yes, sir.
You do know medical marijuana has been legal in this state since 1991.
Yes.
What puts you in a position to determine that you are the judge?
I'm just rendering an opinion. I'm not the judge.
It bothers me a lot when I hear this discussion about this heavy hand and what we pass as laws. Reverend, so you know, in 1991 we legalized medical marijuana in this state. It has been here since 1991. I know people who use medical marijuana. It has been here since 1991. And all of the statistics that we just looked at were not a result of something that became law in 1991. Now, Mike, if I can. Excuse me, Sheriff, I'm done. Mike, I want to get back to the bill. I heard all the passion and I heard all the discussion on medical marijuana, but that has nothing to do with this bill. This bill is a reduction from a felony to a misdemeanor. Now, here's my question to you, Mike. The Reverend made an excellent point when he talked about civil rights. I happen to be a strong believer in that. Let me give you this example, and you tell me how I am to deal with it. You heard me talk earlier about the nephew and his problem. Back during hunting season, he called me, and it has been, I don't know, almost 15, 20 years. He said, I'd like to be able to take my children hunting. I'd like to own a firearm to take my children hunting. Now, he can't go buy one because he has this felony, is what he's telling me. So I called alcohol, tobacco in this state. This is what they said to me. If it's been more than 10 years, then he can buy the weapon. But you need to check with the feds to make sure we're telling you correct. So I'll call the feds. Their response to me was, if it's been more than 10 years and it was purely for possession and not distribution, he can buy one. Then he goes on to tell me this, Mike. When he fills out the form to buy the shotgun, there will be a question. Have you ever had a felony conviction? Now, so I asked him, well, if he can buy it, when he checks felony, they're going to tell him no. Is that correct? He said, that's correct. He said, but what you should do is tell him to say he's never had one. Check that. Then it's going to go in for the background check. When it goes in for the background check, then the feds, if they pick it up, are going to reject the purchase of the shotgun. At that point, he can contact the federal government and inform them that it's been almost 20 years. And at that point, they will then release him to buy his shotgun. Now, if in fact civil rights are the issue, why in God's green earth do we make a citizen of this state go through that process? And I think the reason is, Mike, and you can give me your answer, I think the reason is because what we've heard here today, it rests upon you to be the judge. It rests upon you to have that deliberative process that you use, as the district attorneys told us. That violates every right of an American in this country. Now, tell me why that's justifiable.
I believe, first, in speaking on the bill.
I am speaking on the bill because the bill is a reduction from the felony to the misdemeanor.
But our sheriffs don't enforce the laws and don't have the authority that AT&F does pertaining to the sale of that firearm. The only thing that our state police does is do the NICS check, which.
But my question is,
which
why
is their responsibility,
why should
and
that
not
be the
ours
case?
As sheriffs.
Why
but
should that be the case, Mike?
I will say that when we reduce the penalty of marijuana for possession to that which becomes less than the fine for that of a stop sign, then I can tell you there's some gross disparity there in our system when a stop sign violation yields more of a fine than a marijuana possession. I don't think it reflects on our value system as well in the state of Louisiana, and I'm not being judgmental there. I'm only reflecting on my perception of what our people are thinking. But I can't answer
last
for
year,
ATF.
Mike, last year when Badon had his bill, the fine in that bill was $500, which is greater than a stop sign. You opposed that too, did you not?
Yes, sir.
So show me where the consistency is in your position. Is your position simply that it makes no difference how we write it, how we structure it? In your view, even if we make it legal, as we did in the case of medical marijuana in 1991, it will remain your position that it's a bad thing?
I can answer that by simply stating that when I answer your questions, I answer on behalf of each of our elected 64 sheriffs. My opinion is not being stated here today. My statements are a reflection on what has been told to me, and I am only their mouthpiece and their advocate.
And that's an honest answer. Thank you very much.
Yes. Senator